Mic and music check. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Looks like it's working. Perfect, Atlan. Thank you so much. How are you doing today? Excuse me. Awesome. We got that twice confirmed mic check. That's awesome. How are you doing today, Chim? Glad to hear it, Atlan. Glad to hear it. Okay, I've got the TikTok feed live. And I've got the same on Steam, so we're good to go across the board. Oh, that bot crashed. Shall we? Mouse highlighter. Looks like we're live on all platforms, so we're live in portrait and landscape on YouTube. We're live on Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, Steam. Oh, I'm sure, Remy. I also hopefully will be able to finish up a video today and post it, if not tomorrow. I was hoping to get it done by the weekend, but honestly, my body said no. I needed some rest. I slept most of Sunday and like some of Saturday. Needed to catch up. Let me just pull the mic in a bit closer. But yeah, John, maybe turn it up a bit on your end just in case. So welcome. Welcome to, it's always, yeah, well, I mean, Magikarp Monday makes sense. Yeah, nice little alliteration there. Honestly, I just enjoy sometimes wearing the Magikarp hat, so my head isn't invisible from the green screen effect on my headphones. So those just tuning in and those that have been here before, my name is Mac. I am the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist. Today is Mapmaker Monday, where we have a themed build and work on that themed build, but also during the stream, I provide support, and I answer your questions in AMA format, which means ask me anything. So if during the stream you have any questions, concerns, feedback, suggestions, you have questions about the new update, maybe you want to know how to do something in it, or you're a little bit lost, feel free to ask away. And I do want to point out we're live on multiple platforms right now. I'm monitoring chat on all platforms. So if any of you have a question anywhere, feel free to tune in and I will, or, type in that question. I will do my best to answer it within at least a minute or two, because like I said, I'm monitoring a bunch of different screens, like I'm in a war room, but it is quite fun. Hey, Eric, thank you. John, is it coming through a little bit better for you on YouTube now? Is anyone else feeling like it's silent? So the stream build we're working on is an ancient cemetery. We've been working on this for a while, and I'll be honest with you, it's partially because I spend a lot of time answering questions instead of building. Like more often than not, I'm doing support and talking about our next update with teasers and stuff like that. Though I only get about a half hour to an hour of build time most weeks. Hey, Swamp, how you doing? How was your stream the other day? Sorry I couldn't tune in. So we started in this corner here with this little entryway. And this map has been kind of like me challenging myself to make it as difficult as possible. Here, let me turn on the grid and show you what I mean. So I actually built everything, not on the grid perfectly. I did it like at a weird angle, like a diagonal angle. I guess you could say perpendicular to the grid or something like that. So notice like even the building I drew over here is at like an angle. I twisted it and did all that stuff. So I kind of made it weird and difficult for myself by doing that. A lot of stuff in DA reacts to the grid, like object placement and, you know, some of the brushes and stuff like that. But at the same time, it's been kind of fun. Making it challenging is half the fun of these streams. Remy, me too. I'm excited to dive into the next map. I was going to do a follow-up of this map, but now I kind of just want to do something that's multi-level based and really dive into it. You know what I mean? Because I was going to do the sewers for this map, but now I can't have it all linked into one map because it's a legacy map. So either I might just hurry and quickly rebuild this map so I could do the catacombs underneath. So I'd probably rebuild it in my own time as like a replica using the updates. So like a chapel and all that stuff. And then I'd showcase that map and then we'd start working the underground map. But anyway, this has been kind of a labor of love. Here we have a big chapel with a beautiful garden all around it that I put in by hand. Some of these are assets from the workshop, like these little stone pavers, and some of the statues are from the workshop. Some of them are stock assets. Oh no, my path is gone. You know why? There was a path over here that I made custom, and I used pillars to make it. All those pillars are sunk into the ground and cut in half. I can't even get at them. Here, I bet you. Let me just check something. I bet money there's a pillar under this somewhere. Let's dig in and look. See? Oh my gosh, there they are. They're just like just beneath the surface. Ow, why? Well, it might, but at the same time, it'll all of them are already laid out. So my best bet is to just raise them all up, right? Or delete them all because now they're hundreds of extra assets that are eating up space. Rise. Will the 1x1 and 2x1 stairs return? That's a very good question. So as we approach this update, there was so much going on and I was testing multi-level, and then I soon realized that the stairs were perfectly designed for multi-level in buildings, but then they were very restrictive in the sense that you couldn't use them outside of the buildings. They couldn't be resized, couldn't be freely rotated to any angle. And as a result of which, they're kind of locking you down in what you can do with them, right? They really only work inside of structures now. So if you wanted to stair outside, forget it, unless you put it on like a building that has no like walls. You just put a ground down of a building, right? Generate a structure without anything. So it's kind of a bummer in that regard. I pointed this out to the devs and they said, yeah, we made them ideal for the multi-level. So they dynamically cut the holes above. They're perfectly sized for, you know, the spaces of the levels. I'm like, I agree with that wholeheartedly. We need stairs like that. That makes sense. But I think we should also have freestanding stairs that are like, you know, the old stairs we're used to that you can resize and rotate and stick into the wall a little bit, sink into the ground a little bit, stuff like that. And I kind of advocated for that before launch, but there just wasn't enough time to bring them back in kind of a way that they were happy with, because they wanted to test them all and make sure they're good with multi-level. They were depreciated, which means they're no longer right for this build. Yeah, the new stairs, honestly, instead of being in the object menu, should be a top level category for sure. And kind of like roofing is, for sure. That makes sense. Peter, collisions on at the moment, yes, but I was going to turn them off and raise these up. But if you look, it's kind of frustrating because they were all like this high above the ground before. I might just bring this up with the devs and have them fix it in an update, because it is definitely something from the patch that did this. It like is lower than it used to be. Swamp, I'm glad you had a good stream. I'll try and tune in if I can today. So I'm thinking I might just delete these because I'm going to have to raise them all up one by one, which is going to be a pain. So I know where they are. What my plan is I am going to... Here, let's test this really quick. Gonna go into the object eraser. I'm gonna shrink it, right? Just shrink it. Hey, it is getting them. Cool. Wonder if this will help with performance. Hey, John Doom, how you doing, buddy? So, Eduardo, that's a good question. So pillars are set up to dynamically rise to the ceiling above them. If they're used outside, I believe you can kind of play with them. Like if you put it inside at a floor level, like just one floor level, and then pull it outside, it stays at that height, and then you could use it for like, you know, a pillar support or something. There are some weird quirkiness things that we need to figure out. If it's placed outside, it just needs to be a normal sized pillar, not the weird dynamic ones, right? This is something, though, that I like feedback on. In fact, any of you that have played with the update, if you've seen anything weird or buggy, definitely use the bug report tool within Dungeon Alchemist under the help menu, or under feedback, I mean, report bug or give feedback. Because when you report a bug, if it's in the map you're in, then they'll get a copy of that map, which makes it easier for them to replicate. I think the work order of how you use the pillar will definitely make a difference, Eduardo. Here, let me try something really quick. I haven't really fully messed with it. I'm making a guess. But so like columns and pillars, right? When you put them in a building, they now dynamically adjust to the height of that building, or they kind of just have their set height, right? Now I'm in a legacy build, so it probably won't have that problem. Plan was to just sink it down to like the right height, and then I just copy that. This is a bummer, I have to redo this, but it should be relatively quick. Do it over the array. That could work. Honestly, as of right now, this is probably the easiest way to quickly redo it. I'm not going to get too picky about it because I did this section a while ago, and so it's frustrating that it's broken. Just have to redo it. Here, I'm going to leave. Oh, I got one to base it off of here, but watch. I could take this little eraser, pull it from where I remember paths. Through there. See those? They're just beneath the surface, eating up tons of RAM because there's just so many of them placed. No! I keep doing brush strokes and subtle brush strokes that way, and like letting go and doing it again, like clicking and unclicking, because then that way my undo queue has like 3 or 4 in it, and then 3 or 4 more instead of 20 that undoes itself. That way you don't have to redo a whole section if you mess it up. Ah! No! Definitely got to be careful about that. It's going to erase there. Like it erased a lot of stuff. Also some here, if I recall. Yep. Glub. Thank you, Lila. I love it too. You could put a structure sunken in water. You can put a pipe in water. The new hidden doors don't generate a door frame anymore? That's good to know. I didn't know that, Oscar. Or who said that? Was that... Sorry, the name just jumped right as I was reading it. Who said that? Thank you, Belladonna. So, it was Rise that said that. Thank you for pointing that out, Rise. Is it a bug or by design that if you have two export options for the same VTT, Foundry for example, if you change the type of export on one of them, it changes on all of them, or am I doing something wrong? Example, if I set one Foundry to be image and another with WebM, when I set to WebM, it changes the image one as well. It's probably a bug, man. Honestly, I didn't develop the batch exporter or anything to do with it. I'd imagine it's likely a bug. If you want, if you've already spun up a thread in Discord, I can get Quentin kind of in on it so he can take a look. Because yeah, Quentin would be the one who would know. You have with video? Fantastic. I believe, you know, sir, sorry, man. I've been looking over so many tickets the last few days. They're kind of a blur. So I apologize. I probably have seen it. So forgive me there if I'm a little kind of like scatterbrained. But yeah, there's been a lot of new people coming in, checking out DA. The sale we have, like, we're continuing through the 24th. And then we have the update. So there's just so many new things all at once, right? So a lot of new members of our community. By the way, welcome. If you have any questions, feel free to ask and I'll do my best. Or the moderators or other members in the community will do their best to provide assistance. That's what these streams are for, so you can tune in anytime like a class, you know, and think of me as Professor Dam or something like that, you know, Professor Mac. I'm here to answer your questions and provide real-time support, which I find much better than, you know, a tutorial video that might be months old or years old, or spinning up a thread and doing it with some text. You can actually get like a live tutorial, which is pretty fun. By the way, at the moment, I'm fixing something that the update broke in this build. It lowered all my pillars underground that I was using as kind of a fun little stepping path. So now I'm going to just erase them because they're just underground. And then I was going to place new ones. I knew where all of them were, so it only took me a minute to do that. So now they're all gone. I'm going to go through and just add these ones in there. Oops. Oh man, found some more. Oh. So I'm gonna wanna grab this, and yeah, I could turn this into a custom brush now. Oops, an extra one. Move that one. I'm gonna leave it selected, and I'm just gonna go to create custom brush. I don't need like a ton of density, and I'm gonna leave it as this no scaling randomness. Position randomness, no. Rotation randomness doesn't matter. And I'd like them to be all the same size. I'm pretty sure that does it the same size. Huh, where is it brushing? Doesn't seem to be, oh, it brushed above ground. Yeah, the brush ain't gonna work for this, so I'm gonna do it by hand. It's trying to put it above ground, which this is a weird... Pillars are like, they intend to be stuck on top of ground, not used as a footpath. So that's kind of my bad. Lions are gonna have to be changed. I'm just gonna hold shift when I place these and it automatically duplicates it, which saves me a tremendous amount of time. Tighten this. This part's always fun, getting them just right. It is a nice hat. I appreciate all the fun comments on the hat today, by the way. Every once in a while, I like to feel like I have a sense of humor, so. The other day, I named the stream Lanch Party, and Wim messaged me, and he's like, hey, did you know you had a typo in the title? I was like, oh yeah, I did. I was just trying to be funny and get some conversation going. Which is always fun, right? Because when people notice typos, they just always have to be like, hey, you spelled that wrong. Anyway, pretty good. Honestly, Eduardo, I'm not sure if that's intentional. It's probably a bug. Sounds like a bug. You should probably report it in the Discord. Honestly, something like that, definitely. Or within DA through the feedback menu. That way they can investigate it. Right now I'm on a legacy map, so I couldn't really do that if I wanted to. I'd have to open up a whole new map to test that out. Give me 1 minute and we'll see if we could take a look at that. Probably should have shrunk these down to start, because dang, they are big. Havers, I mean. Remy, how you doing today? Is that key lime pie to you, Centimar? Pizza Pond is what it is, yes. You see right there, there's some turtles. Ninja Turtles. It could be key lime pie, I guess, if you want it to be. But yeah, we were going for pizza pie. It's the Pizza Pond, technically. Aren't I hilarious? Yep, it's the Ninja Turtles. At the time I did this, there wasn't a good rat model, so I didn't put a rat in the build. Living the dream, but no, life is good. A girl can't complain. How's the fam? Much better now that we're kind of on the mend from the COVID episode. Like I'm just like so grateful I stayed on top of our vaccinations for that, because like it really didn't, like me and my son were sick for maybe 2 weeks, right? My wife was sick for the better part of a month, which was really rough, and she was just, you know, really for the first few days it was really rough on her, and then the rest it was just, you know, just trying to catch her breath and dealing with coughing and, you know, all that stuff. So anyway, we're all doing a lot better though, and yeah, kind of excited to get our summer going. My son's been like way interested in crypto lately, so he wants to get a Bitcoin miner, so we've been looking into that. Man, I haven't looked into that stuff for like a decade. Yeah, we're all doing much better. So appreciate everyone's concerns there. No, Eduardo, feel free to post anything you see. Honestly, if you run into any bugs, okay, here's the deal, guys and gals. If you find bugs or things that you think are bugs or issues, report bugs through the feedback menu, and then also spin up a support thread in our Discord. That way you can share the map, you can share images, your computer specs, everything that happened leading up to it, maybe any video or images you have. That way we can look at it, go through it, replicate it, and do our best to try and suss out the bug and fix it. Now, I do know that a patch should be going through shortly if it didn't already this morning. Stand by, let me see. Yeah, it completed a bit ago. So if you, I could probably update DA if I left and came back in. And that should fix a lot of issues people were having related to like crashes or DA not loading correctly at all for some people. We had some issues with Mac users as well, and that patch went out yesterday. So we've been pretty much doing our best to make sure that no one's, having issues for long and is able to get into DA sooner than later. There was just a small percentage of our community who was running into some issues. Yeah, Asmodeus is correct. Our general chat is not pretty much the places you want to share or like a need for support is in the question forum or the support forum. So if you have like a bug or an issue, support forum. If you just have a general question about DA or our development, question forum. General chat is just like hanging out, showing funny things you find in DA, talking about, the future of DA, or any other general TTRPG chat. You know what I mean? So for the most part, that space is such a fluid, moving chat. It's very hard to use as support because often hundreds of messages go through the day. It's impossible to keep track of them all. And things that are discussed there go missing within moments. Whereas in our forum, they're all contained in nice little threads that in any time someone searches, they can find those and look at them as a reference. So it's a great way for people in the future to, if have the same problem, they can find the answer easier, but it also allows us to keep your messages and issue it contained into one single thread where we can break down the problem, share files, images, video, etc., and do our best to like fix it in a reasonable amount of time. Every once in a while we run into an issue. It takes a while to try and figure out what the problem is. But if we use the correct space in the Discord, it makes it so much easier for myself, the devs, myself, the moderators who are volunteers and other, members of our community trying to assist. Lila, there's no ETA for now. At the moment, I would say hopefully before year's end. Sean, there isn't at the moment, but a bunch of official tips and tutorial videos should be forthcoming soon. I'll be honest with you, Sean, the best practice, build out your floor plan, the whole general like design of the place, and don't do all your object design yet. Just kind of get the floor plan laid out, right? Upstairs, downstairs, below ground, whatever you're doing. And then go in and add the stairs where you want them. When you add stairs, it'll dynamically cut a hole in the space above. So essentially, depending on the staircase you use, the hole is different sizes, and they vary from like 2 to 4 squares. So like some of the smaller stairs or spiral stairs do a 2-hole, like 2 square cut. And then the larger ones do 3 or 4. Honestly, I mean, I do appreciate when you all are sharing bugs here in the stream and we can experiment with them. And if you have simple, like stuff like that, I'll try and suss it out. But more often than not, I'm here to just kind of answer and things we can actually break down here in the stream. So ultimately, in that regard, Eduardo, I do want you to get the help you need with that issue. So I think the Discord is the best space for it, or the bug report pad, you know? I hate that I have to waste time doing this again. Feel bad, actually, because I know people watched me do this forever ago. Path. Path. Do it. Probably smart. It is fun doing this again because actually we'll look kind of the learning stage of the design. Straightforward as to what I'm doing, so it went a lot. Honestly, I'm glad people get to see this concept who missed it the first time around. It is kind of weird adjusting your workflow, but I think it'll speed up once you get used to the changes. And also, I did read behind doors that things like the stairs are a top priority for the devs. They want to make sure they figure out a solution that's amicable for everyone, you know? And I think the solution will be putting the old stairs, or at least a variation of them, in another, you know, tab in the object menu that are freestanding. So, yeah, I think you got to treat it more like an assembly line now. You know what I mean? And by that, I mean, you start with the bare bones structure, like the foundation and on all the floors. If you like to detail your rooms, generate them without objects, right? Or you could generate them with the base set for that room and see what it comes up with and then just make adjustments. Me, I like to detail everything by hand, so I generate the room type without any objects, which if you go into the object or into the room, you know, menu, the AI settings tab here, you could generate rooms with just walls, no objects, no windows or doors, or you could do just a door, or doors and windows, or just objects, no lights, or everything, okay? It's actually really neat to generate a room that's just bare bones if you want to decorate it yourself, because it saves you the time of having to delete all the objects. Thank you, Sean. I appreciate it. And I'll be honest with you, yeah, the workflow adjustment was the biggest shock to me too. It's different. You got to kind of just take a different order. Now back to that. Get the bare bones kind of figured out if you're generating it with stuff, if you're generating it without. Get the floor plan of the whole structure laid out. Once it's all laid out, put in your stairs. After you put in your stairs, go through and just make adjustments to your walls and floors and, you know, anything like that you want to change. So they're all set, and then put in wall, and then do your doors and windows. After all that's done, then put in all your objects. I found if you put in any objects earlier, just because on occasion, and this was buggy during the, you know, the beta testing, on occasion, when you're generating like a floor below or somewhere around, it may get zealous and delete stuff a floor above. And so I got in the habit of just getting my whole floor plan laid out and then putting in the stuff. Stairs also delete floor spaces above them, so they'll delete items. If you had items there, they'll get deleted. So it's frustrating if you decorate and then put in a stair later and you make a mistake where you place it. So it's a good idea to kind of just slowly kind of lay out the floor plan one bit at a time, right? At least from my experience. Though we did work out most of the bugs of it deleting stuff zealously all around it, there still has been some issues we've noticed with some of the tools where aspects don't perform where you would expect. Like certain tools are functioning on every floor simultaneously, or not on the area you want it to. Like the effects tool couldn't be used on any floor but floor 1. So it's like if you wanted to put fire on the ceiling or on the roof, you couldn't. Little things like that are slowly being worked out. Arcus, ask any questions you want as long as they're Dungeon Alchemist related. The stream is AMA format, which means you can ask me anything. Little sliver on this end. Okay, that's all fixed. Let's save. Save often, my friends. Always be saving. Carcass, so unfortunately, for the first time in Dungeon Alchemist's early access development history, we've run into an instance where maps made prior to this update are not fully backwards compatible. And we tried to alert our community to this through, patch notes. I believe it's mentioned there. I've mentioned it on stream dozens of times in the past. We've mentioned it, in announcements and other media and stuff like that. That being said, it's easy to miss that stuff, so understandable. This little lock over here, when you're in an old map, indicates that you're on a legacy map, and it's locked. That feature is not available in old maps. So what that means, in the simplest sense, is there's no way to add these new multi-level features from this menu with the room generation tools or roofing in old maps. In fact, the patch that went out today should block the roofing tool in old maps. We decided to just block it entirely because it was causing all sorts of issues. So essentially, two parts of that will be this will be locked and this will be blocked. So essentially, it is a bummer, and we were bummed about that prospect. But to add to multi-level and roofing to Dungeon Alchemist, which was something we never really wanted or promised from our Kickstarter, it was just something so heavily requested and demanded by our community, we opted to try and make it work. So many fundamental changes at the core, like base foundation of Dungeon Alchemist had to be changed that it's essentially a different program. So many assets had to be depreciated and changed. A lot changed to make this work. And as a result of which, unfortunately, some of those old maps now, will not be able to access those features. That being said, it is just those old maps being able to access multi-level using the new tools. This map, for instance, I made it prior. You can clearly see it's a legacy map. This right here is a multi-level piece that I put in by hand. It's totally possible to add multi-level into old maps, just a little bit trickier. So I generated the first floor of a chapel, cathedral, whatever. This here is the bell tower, and I wanted the bell tower to be multi-story because typically bell towers are tall, right? Thinking small chapel, multi-level bell tower, right? So what I did to make this work, these walls here, these are objects. These are located in the object menu under structural right here, and then you go to freestanding walls. So there is a copy of every single wall in the wall menu that is an object that is a lot more freedom to its movement and resizing and locating. So you can essentially, let's find a matching wall, which is like one of these, right? These can snap into place if you hold control. They actually snap by default if collisions are on, but if collisions are off, you hold control. You can raise or lower them if collisions are off. You can rescale them far beyond or below their normal constraints if collisions are off. So essentially, I use that knowledge to my benefit to kind of snap one of these walls into place. Came in here, and I raised it up to what I thought was the right height and snapped it over. Pretty close. Raise it up a little bit right there, and then just start duplicating it. Now it's pretty much ready to be a higher wall if you want it to be, right? You will lack roofing still with this method, but you can go to the Steam Workshop under Browse Assets and look for a roof option that might work for your building. There's hundreds of roofing options, including modular pieces that can be built together to make a massive roof, or prefab roofs that are already a certain size and shape. So these are a great way to kind of fill in on your legacy maps that you can't add multi-level and roofing to that you may want to. So that is kind of the way people added multi-level and roofing to older maps like you see here. So I just kind of wanted to let you know that was an option if you weren't aware of it. It's actually, I think, it takes a little bit of work, but once it's done, it's very rewarding. It looks really good. You know what I mean? What was the question? Hey, Robert, thank you. Paul, which question are you referring to above? Sean, not a bug, just a question. The workshop, is there a way to tell legacy maps? That's a good question, actually. And I'm sorry, right now there really isn't. I suggested that before the update came out, but there wasn't time to fix that issue. The best way to tell is in the 11,900 plus maps available, 99.999999999% of them are legacy maps. Only maps put on there in the last few days would be new maps, and even some of them would still be legacy because people may have been working on them prior to the update. But if you sort by most recent, right, you can kind of tell which ones are multi-level just by looking at them. And you could see that, hey, this is a multi-level map. We can open it up. Good to go. If it's got one level, more than likely is a legacy map. You could still open it up and check just by seeing this little icon in the corner. If you open an old map, if it's got this at a glance, that's the best way to tell right now. So I'm hoping they'll add like an icon in the workshop that'll be similar to like when you download an asset from the workshop, it'll have this icon in it in the asset menu, so you know at a glance that, hey, this is from the workshop and not a stock asset. Roberto says, I don't, this isn't a stupid question, by the way. I don't know much about this app. Is the workshop where we can get different maps? Yes, you can get different maps and 3D models. So if you click Steam Workshop right here, you can browse maps, and there's over 11,900 maps, almost 12,000 maps available. You can browse by most popular, sorted by the last month, all time. You could search a name. So maybe you're looking for, like, I want a Lost Mines of Phandelver map. Search LMOP, boom. Usually searching that will find dozens of Lost Mines of Phandelver, or you can even just search Phandelver and it'll find those. So you can find theme maps, or maybe you're just looking for a pub or a tavern. I love the search for that reason, but I very much love sorting by most recent, which shows you the maps that have been added in the last, day, few weeks, etc. Usually there's diamonds in the rough that you miss because they're not the most popular upvoted ones constantly. So you could go download other people's work and use it as a base map for yourself, or just use it right away, right out of the off the download. You don't even need to make changes. But if you download a map from the workshop, if you hit subscribe and download, it'll open the map up. It'll prompt you to download any 3D models that might be needed for it, which are also available through the Steam Workshop automatically. And then you can open it up and use it right away, or just export it for use for your campaign, or make subtle adjustments you need to it. Okay, what's going on, Half Ogre? Let me see if I can. Group selection, if it is added to Dungeon Alchemist, will likely be in the second half of Fun with Objects. And I've actually been told that Fun with Objects, logistically, from like, it might be perceived as 3 actual parts now, because there's going to be a big patch in a few weeks after the devs take a quick break, get some vacation time. But they're going to do a big mega patch to fix some of the wonkiness in this update, and hopefully suss out any bugs that have been found by the community between then and now. That said, that would be what they consider part 2, and then there'll be a part 3, which has all the feature-based objects they were hoping to include in the whole update, like rotating an object on any axes, or being able to, select a grouping of objects and copy paste them as a group, or maybe group objects together and save them as a grouping of objects that you can then copy paste between maps or everywhere on your map, like a stamp, or share it on the workshop for others to use, etc. Question on the export and Roll20 dynamic lighting seek in this last legacy version, adding freestanding walls would cause the dynamic lighting to add a wall in Roll20. So we had so many complaints from our community that the freestanding walls didn't auto add the wall when you put them in your builds. We set them to do that, so when you export, it includes the wall data automatically for all freestanding walls, because that's typically how they were used, as a wall, right? And so you wanted that light data, the wall data, line of sight data. That said, I could see how if they're stacked, it could cause issues with dynamic lighting. It may be something that you want to avoid entirely in legacy maps anymore if you're trying to do that, particularly with Roll20 for now, until we can maybe try and address it in some way that makes sense. Though I'd have to see how it looks in the exports, like an image of it with the wall data, just to, kind of comprehend it a little bit better. I don't know if this has been addressed at all in the new release at all. I don't think there was any adjustments made to the exports short of the batch exporter. I don't think we made any improvements to the exports to make them more in line with, the individual export options with each company. Like Foundry now has individual lighting options. So people want us to allow you to set like a flicker to a light automatically. And now they have scene regions similar to like Monk's Active Tiles feature, right? So they want us to add the ability to mark a stair or something so it is automatically set as a teleport to another staircase on another floor. Calling it 1.5 makes sense, Remy. So now that I've kind of finished that little road walkway thing again, I'm going to go through here and start adding graves. And I just need to think logistically how I'm going to do that. I do think, though, I want to continue using these stones because they're nice. I'm going to raise it up so it appears here. Right? Oh, goodness. I hope these aren't too high up. Yeah, I want the cemetery to feel really old, ancient, lots of graves, lots of styles. It feels like it's been there a long time, right, Swamp? By the way, Roberto, if you have any other questions, feel free to ask. I'll be answering them throughout the stream. That's what I'm here for. I'm going to shrink this down a little bit and then raise it up. Let's see how this looks. Too big. That's too big. I might have to use the terrain brush for this. So you see these pavers right here, these stone? I just made this brush really tiny. Then you can kind of go over it and it feels like it's a stone walkway. Now you can take one stone type and you go under it with the base stone. Paintbrushes go sluggishly. So this will be kind of the base stone layer below the pavers. So, Roberto, I stream 3 times a week at least, and we're looking into potentially expanding the stream to more. As of right now, the streams are every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. Monday and Saturday streams are multi-streams, which are featured on Twitch, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, Steam, simultaneously. They're a multi-stream. And then our Wednesday stream is called Office Hours, which is hosted, in our Discord. So anyone in our Discord can watch that stream. Discord exclusive, if you will. So today's stream started at 9 a.m. Pacific and runs till around 11 a.m. Pacific. Usually runs a little long, 11:15, 11:30 Pacific. And then Saturday's stream starts at 12 p.m. Pacific and runs till 2:30 Pacific, somewhere in there. So the size of a map you can make is directly proportionate to your computer specs. The more powerful of a machine you have, the bigger, like the larger, more extravagant maps you can make, okay? So just keep that in mind when you start adding like lots of details, third-party assets from the workshop, which I consider mods in like the simplest sense. They're essentially mods for DA. When you start modifying DA and adding third-party content or adding tons of effects and lights and things like that, it's a good idea to just consider your PC's capabilities. Remy, with regarding cave workflow, carve out the cave you want to do and then start adding stuff. That's my best recommendation. I honestly haven't played too much with it, which I probably should. I'm going to be playing with caves, underground catacombs, caverns, cellars, basements and stuff more in the coming weeks and making like tutorial videos around it. But the caving system is, it feels like we're doing kind of two things simultaneously with it, allowing a space to build underground, but also allowing you to, carve into those spaces to have natural caverns, which it feels like you can only use the terrain brushes again, which is kind of how the old way caves were drawn, right? Before we had the cave tools. So do you have any streams where maps made in DA are used in play? Twitchy Sauce, that's a great question, actually. That is a great question. And unfortunately, at this time, we don't. I do want to in the future. I'm hoping to expand our stream to add more, i.e. more streams, whether it's 1 extra stream a month or 2 extra a month or 1 extra a week, whatever we figure out. But I'd like that stream to be featuring gameplay, i.e. an ongoing campaign where we use Dungeon Alchemist maps, Dungeon Alchemist screenshots and video. We use maps from the community from our dam challenges to try and feature them in the streams, or we put up like requests to the community to submit maps, etc. So that way it's a more community involved kind of stream in that regard. Additionally, we might even, source our community for members of that stream to be participants of the party. So there likely would be an application and an interview process to include our community. So I honestly do want to incorporate that. There's a lot of moving parts to make that work right, though. As you might suspect, it's completely different than, just doing a map making and tutorial stream like we are now. So, and I don't think I'd be the right DM for that. Personally, I like DMing, but I'm not the best. And I would love to be more of a community manager and on those streams so I can still answer questions in chat or, over voice, etc., to the stream related to what's going on in the campaign, but also what's, something DA related to. So I'd probably be participating as a player and continue doing like stream production like I do now, like background stuff, making sure it's working, making sure effects are working, making sure sound is right. So I think it would be kind of cool to essentially have one of the most interactive campaign streams on, online, where the maps used in the campaign are directly from our community, things like that. I think it'd be kind of cool. Well, what I would likely be is still a participant, a player, but then I would mute myself in the group chat and then talk to the stream occasionally and kind of narrate what's going on as like almost like a third party for myself, like a commentator. So I might interact with you all and be like, oh my gosh, this is crazy right now, isn't it? Like as myself, and then go back into character and then talk to the team as, move my mic back and forth. It'd be an interesting kind of style of play. So I will say that moves toward that end have been happening. I already have a DM in mind who I've been working with for, about a year now, on and off in sessions and, on stream and whatnot. So I'm very, hopefully, get to work with them on this project. And then I have some ideas for how it would work with our community and also just ongoing. I mean, it'd be kind of fun if we also had to build maps on the fly for the stream, like during the stream as part of it to showcase, DA's quickness, but also, we'd bring in maps from the dam challenge or maybe like a dam bounty or something like that we'd put up to get people involved. Like, hey, we need a map around this styling in the next 3 days. If your map is featured, you get like a small commission and we shout you out on the stream or something like that. I don't know. Sam, that's a good question. Unfortunately, at this time, all stairs dynamically cut the hole to the space above them. I would love to be able to cut out like a little 4x4 circle and have it just run up to that. Yeah, on the stream the other day, we were trying to make that work and we just couldn't. It, at the moment, remember, this is the first iteration of multi-level and stairs and all of these new features, right? So there's bound to be improvements, changes, adjustments, tweaks over time. So if it feels a little off right now or you're wanting changes, make it known in our Discord. The stream is a great place because it's a good, focal point, but in the Discord and also on our upvote are great places for your voice to be heard in more perpetuity, because then it's not just lost in this chat. You know what I mean? After the stream, I would say definitely, put a suggestion on our upvote, which is our roadmap / suggestion board. So you can put suggestions there. Others can upvote them and comment on them. When an upvote suggestion is made, it's automatically a copy of it's put in our Discord with a link. So our entire Discord is aware of it and can see it and potentially vote on it. It's a great tool. And also, if you're not following our roadmap, I would check that out. So Atlam, if you could share that link with them, that'd be a great. Additionally, though, in our Discord, if you bring put up a support thread with that information saying, hey, I have this, I noticed this, we could cut out a circle. Why doesn't the staircase dynamically cut a circle? I brought this to the attention of the devs, but the more people who are vocal about it, typically the squeaky wheel gets the grease in our community. And by that, I mean the devs are very receptive to community feedback, any issues that are bug related or problems that a lot of people are experiencing, they tend to jump on it very quick. I should be live for another hour. Yeah, Swamp. The problem is then the stair's not navigable in first person if you put an abstract there. Oh, I guess you would be covering that one small spot. No, as long as the abstract doesn't go over the stair, then it should be okay. Let me save this, and I know what he's trying to do. I was doing this on stream the other day. I was trying to make it work myself. Let me hurry and save this twice just to make sure it's good, right? I don't know. That walkway, I do not like it at all. Does that stone look weird in the middle there? Just too much gray. I'm gonna undo it. It's gonna take a minute. I'm gonna use these pavers because it'll contrast the dark stone of the graves, which there's just so much of it right now. It'll really kind of it'll just make it more easy to view. I think the contrast will be better. Cabo Wabo. Well, so our maps are exported in the traditional format, which is top down. You can do them in a flattened top down, which is more of a 2D. And then we have two optional 3D perspective views where it kind of sort of fisheyes it and makes it feel more 3D in the top down perspective. We allow you to build in 3D so you have exceptional detail, higher detail than you would normally have at all angles, so you don't necessarily miss out or put something at a certain angle that looks weird in top down only. So essentially it allows you just exceptional build control. Not only that though, you can actually interact with these environments with a cinematic or a first person camera to walk around and, you know, take screenshots or fly through with like a drone like camera to take screenshots or video that you can use as handouts for your players. These are great storytelling tools. I've also seen DMs stream a first-person view, the token view. Stand by. I'm actually undoing a bunch of work right now, so it's freezing up as I do it, and then I'll show you what I mean by those views. But essentially, with these external camera views, you can either stream it to your players over like Zoom or Discord or however you play, or you can capture video or screenshots to use as handouts. So maybe this is the first time they get to an end, you can do a little walk in and first person look around so they kind of get the lay of the land from their own eyes, which I feel is a very nice immersion tool. So I do understand, like, a lot of people want to export 3D maybe for, say, a 3D virtual tabletop. But for the most part, all 3D virtual tabletops on the market are actually very exclusive to themselves. They don't offer like imports from third parties, you know, to this scale. Like a map that is all 3D exported would also be ginormous. It would be like hundreds and hundreds of megabytes, maybe up into the gigabytes or more. So it wouldn't really be optimal for like online play in that regard. It would be okay, say, to, you know, use for maybe game development, possibly 3D printing. I do tons of 3D printing myself. I would never really want to print a map of my own because the amount of supports I'd have to remove and the amount of sanding and print time would be insane. Like take days and days. It's just not optimal for it. That and our assets, the majority of them are just smoke and mirrors. So they're like really simple shapes with highly detailed texture maps on them. We did that to keep Dungeon Alchemist maps really small, but then the objects very detailed. Hey, thank you for the follow and the likes within the last few seconds. In fact, within the last few minutes, last 20 minutes, Karma Birds followed, David Lynch liked, Frederick Reamer liked, and Typho Chills followed. Thank you, thank you. So Dungeon Alchemist just wasn't really designed with 3D export in mind. It's designed around top-down export while you get the 3D perspective of building. Seems counterintuitive to some ends, but when you realize that the majority of tabletop gameplay is in a top-down perspective and is only just kind of in its infancy when it comes to 3D gameplay, is starting to get into it, or virtual gameplay, it's going to be a while before there really is an effective 3D virtual tabletop all-in-one that works really well and is end-to-end inclusive. There are a few out there that are doing it, like Tailspire. We can't import our maps to them because they're all-inclusive. Then you have like modules for like Foundry, like 3D Canvas. Because of the way Dungeon Alchemist is designed, our assets would just be gray blobs with no detail in 3D Canvas. So it would be severely lacking in the quality you expect in a Dungeon Alchemist map. It just kind of compounds several problems that we decided it was in the best interest of our community to not pursue that. Right now, especially, like, to do proper 3D gameplay, a lot of, like, especially for some of those, like, higher tier virtual tabletops, it requires, like, a ridiculously powerful computer. So, like, your whole party has to have, like, gamer, streamer, 3D render rigs. It's Unity, Mysterio. Unity. So Dungeon Alchemist is designed entirely in Unity. And additionally, the devs have in the last couple years also upgraded our Unity, so it's more modern, but it's not the version of Unity that requires all that extra licensing fees and garbage stuff. So we are not beholden to that, but we are very up to date and able to provide, a quality product for a long time. Okay, now that I've finally got these, start dropping them in there. Screwed that up by doing that other pathway. But I like these. They'll contrast really well, stand out. He is just getting the spacing right. So when I get to here, going that way. And ultimately, I don't perfect. Direction here. Hey, Mitch, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate the kind words. We got a lot of interactivity from Facebook and YouTube today. Glad to have like a full house across the board today. Hey, see you later, Swamp. So there is a roulette table in the new assets, like a roulette wheel, and it actually has active RNG in it. So if you press play on it, the ball goes around and then picks a number there. You can see it going to 30. Here, let's make this bigger so see. So do with that what you will. There's also another asset in DA. Where is it? I feel like it's a Halloween asset or something. What was it called? There's like a... This right here. The Halloween Gauntlet. This is kind of older now. But we released this on Halloween a few years ago, and it's got RNG on it as well. And there's like, I think, a D12 on this. But each one of the things has a trap tied to it. So it actually does something like dangerous. Like a little knife there, if you see it, just popped out. There's a dice tray, but not an animated dice. So you've got like that, you can just put it in your casino. It's just not animated. And then we've also got a D20, but it's not animated. So this could act as a D12, right? And then roulette has way more numbers, so that, I mean, it's just an interesting thing. You also have the roulette like mat. So your players could technically place bets, and then you could play roulette with them. But I mean, technically, you could just use this as a prop and then have your players just roll normal dice, like D6, because, you know, they have access to those. Oh, see you later, Sean. But if you search Halloween Gauntlet or roulette, you'll find these. Should help you out. Carcass. How's the mic sounding today, by the way, everyone? I just want to make sure it's coming through clear, crisp, adequate volume. Quick reminder for everyone participating today, Dungeon Alchemist is on sale. We have been invited to the daily deal sale following the summer sale. So we were on sale in the summer sale, and now we're on sale for the daily deal offering. The Dungeon Alchemist will be on 20% off through July 24th. Although I hear a fishy what sound? Doesn't pick up pet sounds. Aren't the pet sounds like a band? Oh, you can't hear kitty purring from the other day, right? So, Lord Rev, I just basically, it's kind of using all the fun new things in the new update and all the new features. So, primarily multi-level and roofing, but all the fun other things in it in the update. Go for it. Just use the update as your guide. Remember, these themes are always kind of a loose interpretation, and interpret it how you want. You know what I mean? So if it were me in your shoes, just use all the fun and tools of the new update to your advantage to make your map. That's it. I always do a gap on my first pass, because then if it's like perfect all the way over, we're good. But then there's room if it's not, and I can kind of bring them in tighter to each other and fix it. I also try not to perfectly space them, because, you know, it adds that like human element. But see, as you can see here, the gap is weird. So that means I could start, say, somewhere back here, pull them in a little bit tighter. And bring the formation a little closer. And then each one of these bricks affords me just like a little bit more space on the other end. So by the time it gets like all the way to the end, I'm hoping to have given myself like one more brick's worth. Just enough to put the 2 I need. Little bit adds up really quick, huh? A little bit too much space, so I can bring them back a little bit. And I did so much like editing work and map work and like for the teasers and trailers, and I've had some pain in my wrist for the last few days, kind of flared up. I mean, any of those could potentially be just fine for the damn challenge. See, that looks really good. A few of them a little off. I could just kind of tighten them up a bit. But I think that looks really nice because it's such a nice contrast to the dark stonework of these. So I was thinking of how I was going to build out these next sections, and I think I'm going to try and just square off little areas like this to do like rows, right? So this side here obviously goes to this, but then I might have like a section in here with a bunch of graves or maybe a statue and a seating area. But anywhere it's like square and neat, I'm going to fill it with graves if I can. So this walkway might go to here, but then it might go angle to this. And then there might be an offshoot coming this way. So it'll be like tons of graves along this side where I can fit them. No worries, Rev. Gotcha. Well, if the library is multi-level, you could repurpose it for the damn challenge. Alternatively, I could move this gate here, so it'd be straight across from this one, which would be ideal, because then I'd have a pathway cutting clean through this, and then I could start doing, yep, that's what I'm going to do. That's actually a perfect one for it, and then I can just bring this in to like fit that end. Close enough. So it's like a big gap that goes all the way across. Love it. For a sectional cut. And then I could start putting graves in these sections all down below. Might be a good idea to just kind of put a line across all the way on all of these, so they're very much the same space. Good enough. And maybe could use. Right, Shelly? It does make sense. Trying to make some logic of this. That's half the problem with like designing these graveyard layouts is like, how is the footpath supposed to work? Like, it has to make some sort of logic. Or have some sort of logic. French fries. Should have started here. Make enough room. Like it, just barely though. But I gotta move this one slightly, which is fine because it did like it was a little tight. I'm gonna have to squeeze some more this way. And see potential for a pizza plot. Just enough room here to space these out. Hey, TikTok, thank you for all the likes, by the way. We're over 3,000 likes now. Y'all are absolutely redonkulous. So thank you for being you. Appreciate you so very, very much. Let's get a save on really quick. Save often. And by the way, if you if you're not aware of this, Dungeon Alchemist has autosave. You go to settings, autosave. You can set an autosave interval, enable it, and then save it. So mine is set to 1 minute. Every 60 seconds, it does a backup of my map and saves an autosave in the same space my main save is, adjacent to it, just labeled as an autosave and the time and date. So it overwrites that save once a minute. So I have my master save and then the autosave. So in order to make autosave work, you not only have to enable it and set an interval anywhere from 1 minute to an hour, 1 minute, 5 minute, 15, 30, and an hour. After you set this, enable it, and hit save, you also have to save the map one time with a name and give it a name. That way the autosave knows the name of the map and where you saved it, so it knows where to put the autosave and how to label it. Essentially giving you a backup of your work if you forget to save often, which can be a very powerful tool. Start. Oh my gosh, Mondu. Mondu likes to live dangerously. Listen, if you like to live life in the fast lane, don't name your map or save it or set an autosave interval. That way, you can work for hours in a high-risk environment where, you know, at any moment your computer may crash or freeze or power could go out, you lose all your work. You know how it is. Hey, drink some water. You know what? Thank you for the reminder. Much appreciated. Thank you for the follow. Dwarf's Descent, thank you for the like. Dado Senpai, thank you for the follow. Much appreciated. Thrill seeking. Right? If you like your cartography dirty and dangerous, disable autosave and don't name your map until you're done. Honestly, it is like so nice to get in the groove and you're like getting a lot done, but then you don't like realize how dangerous it is sometimes. You forget to save. You get in a groove and maybe we're doing it just off by like a millimeter the whole time, and then it's like way off at the end. So it's always good to kind of like stop, double check your work, look at everything from different angles, save, you know, take a breath, drink some water. Geez, Swamp, yeah, you like to live dangerously, don't you? Swamp's a thrill seeker. Welcome back, Swamp. Sorry I never call you your full name, but you have to understand we're a family-friendly stream here, so you have a nickname now. You know, TikTok's so variable because it's like algorithmic based. Some days we'll have 10, 20 people there. Some days we'll have none. And I feel bad for the loyalists who show up every day, every stream, because that tends to happen. You know, and TikTok has that kind of short attention span thing going on where people will tune into the stream, look at it for like 2 seconds, and if it's something that doesn't grab their attention, they'll leave. And I get it. I have one of those radio faces. So just already off to a bad start with many different people. Honestly, because your name says one thing, it'll be hard for me to remember the other. I'll try to remember it, Nate, but I'll probably just call you Swamp. It's crazy. Sometimes people have like a different username on each site. And so it's like, oh, on this site, they're one thing. On another site, they're another thing. So hard for me to track those names, especially. I try to remember all those, but at the end of the day, I'm only human, you know? Like, I can only do so much. Okay, let's bring these in a little bit tighter here. And we'll follow kind of that height. Honestly, it's not about branding so much as it's just an easy way. Like if you have the same username across everything, not everyone's trying to stream or create, you know, be a content creator or an influencer, but it does help across. Like if you have the same username across, say you're the same, all your games or social media or a similar one. Nice, Swedish Cook. How's it going? Can't wait to see it. Honestly, Chim, it would be cool if we had like a timer built into the DAM file that like tracked how long you worked on it. So that information stored somewhere, you know? Lila, do it. Trust me. I mean, you save frequently, it helps you out. You got a good habit already. But if you have the autosave just in case, you know, it might back you up one day when you don't expect something to happen, like a crash, right? Oh, we're so close to being able to fit it. I think in the next like 3 or 4 tiles. Boom. Now it's just a matter of like lowering these just a little bit. Love it. Love it. Just activated it. Yeah, do yourself a favor. Do your future self a favor, I should say. It's good to have that reassurance, you know? Honestly, y'all should be reserving your kids' usernames right now in emails on before you've even thought of them being born. If you're not already reserving them, then they'll never have an email in their name. I'm just kidding. I'm joking. But it is true how quick like usernames and stuff are bought up and used up. Someone pointed out my personal email, like they're like, oh, you're that number, and I'm like, no, that's the year I was born, so it's actually mine and the year and they're like, oh my goodness, because it's like when I was a kid, you could get any email you wanted, the first and last name, and you were the first person to grab it in most cases. Swamp, that's actually kind of so I've heard of parents like they'll set up an email for their kid and all the videos and pictures and like maybe like notes they have for them or like things that they may have written down for them, they'll send them to that email and give it to them when they're like 18 or 21, so they have like a whole record of it digitally as well as like the physical albums and stuff like that. It's really good. Little bit of a slant there, but I could fix that if I wanted to, but honestly, it's whatever. Kind of makes it more human. Ever so slight variation. Yeah, imperfections do add realism, don't they? Anyway. Cool. That looks pretty good. Mine, PadX, I mean, you have a good point. I think that's a feature they're aiming to release in Fun with Objects Part 2. I don't know if you follow along with our, previous streams or, any of our social media posts or announcements or anything like that. But basically, this particular update has been broken into 2 parts. We also have our roadmap and suggestion board upvoting, which has kind of what we're working on right now and what we plan to work on or add in the future. So there's a suggestion portion where anyone in our community can make a suggestion there. People can upvote on it, comment on it. And the ones that get like the most interaction tend to, the devs notice them the most and implement them. Like multi-level and roofing was actually one of our, highly like highest voted upvoting suggestion. And that's the reason we decided to implement it. That being said, many suggestions like yours right now already exist on upvoting, so people have upvoted on it, commented on it. The devs have taken notice to it and have decided they want to try and implement it. They say they want to try, doesn't mean it will, doesn't mean when. It just means they'll do their best. So not everything is feasible that is recommended or suggested on the suggestion board, especially for the team of 10 we have and the amount of resources we have at our disposal. But we do our best to try and accommodate to reasonable and viable suggestions. But the good news on that is, yes, we do have that in our sights in the future. One thing about early access is we're constantly adapting, changing, making things better as we move towards a final release. So often little things that feel out of place, missing, or like, oh, this could be 100 times easier than what you're doing it, probably is just chalked up to early access, and it'll be available at some point down the road. So Fun with Objects Part 2, actually, they're looking to add things like rotating an object on any axis, being able to group select objects or group and copy, groupings of objects, or even save groupings of objects and share them on the workshop so others could download them, or you could stamp them between maps very quickly. Mine, it is true. It's very easy, and often though the questions, especially like those ones, they've been asked many times. I don't mind answering them again, but usually the answer to them is typically in our Discord or on our like upvoting. But yeah, I am definitely here to answer any and all questions related to those. So no worries, regardless of what it is, whether it's support or the future of Dungeon Alchemist. When it comes to the future, though, I can't often speak other than speculation and what I've been told. So sometimes I don't have the whole picture. More often than not, like, what I see behind the curtain is like a peephole version, of what you guys and gals see until they're ready to share it with me and the community. So it's like they're behind the curtain, like the Wizards of Oz, right? Or the Wizards of Dam. And then I get to peek behind the curtain once in a while when they let me to see what they're doing. And then in the weeks leading up to the update, like the month or two before it, I get access to a dev build that has tons and tons of these features, but not necessarily fully functional yet because they're still bug testing and figuring them out and making sure they work. Hey, thank you, Nathan. Appreciate the support and the kind words. Atlam's always so helpful, right? Speaking of Atlam and our mods, I've been considering expanding our mod team both here on the stream and on Discord, mainly because our community has been growing a lot, and this update has brought a lot of questions and a lot of new people into our community. So, just kind of putting out feelers now to anyone in the community who may be interested in that. I'll likely be putting up like applications and kind of sifting through those to see who is interested. I likely will have people who are, you know, just stream mods only if they prefer. And then also, you know, Discord mods. But our current Discord mods are also stream mods for the most part. So it's kind of, you can be both, but it's also, you could just do stream if you'd prefer that, you know? We want to get to that point where we can invite a couple community members who are active in our streams regularly, support the stream, know Dungeon Alchemist inside and out, and can speak to it. You know, typically provide support in our Discord or social media or in the streams already. So someone who kind of gets the role already would probably fall right into that space really well. Ultimately, though, that is something that, you know, I would love to do in the next month or so to try and make sure we're ready for future updates, and that the current mods kind of have some breathing room as they've been doing this for a long time. Having new mods on the team would allow us to, you know, be able to answer more questions more frequently and, just be able to handle the influx of new viewers we've been getting, because now we're averaging like between 80 and 100 viewers across all platforms on the stream now. So very excited to potentially do that. And so if you are interested in something like that, you know, reach out to me over DM or whatever, and we can talk about that more in the future. Kind of wishing I had centered those stone pavers between this gap. Could have put like a hedge. I might delete those and redo it. Then I can squeeze some plants in here or something, so it's centered in between this gap. I'll think about it for a minute. Then I want to start doing some graves like these here, where we essentially just kind of add in other parts of the... Uh-oh, not aligned with the... First things first, you want to align with the fence. Objects follow that. When I lay a new grave, every time I generate one, it generates it with a different, like, headstone and sometimes a different cover stone or no cover stone. And if I want, I can delete a cover stone here and there. Have another dirt marker. Hey, Highland Lass, how are you doing today? How you doing today, Highland Lass? How was your day so far? So I think I could do like rows, like a walkway here, and just row it out all the way along this, to at least here. And then maybe have like, or just seal that up, so solid. Don't need like an entrance. But I could have graves along this, and maybe do like a planter here, graves along that. Alternatively, yeah, I could just row those where they face each other and you can walk down similar to this. Fence behind, another row, fence behind. Oh my, that sounds like a lot's going on. That sounds cool though. So your school is hosting an international event. Like, is it like a sports event or something? Am I crazy or are these slightly tipped from that? Kidding me? Those aren't the same angle as that. The heck? And they were copied right from it, so that was confusing. Oh well, good now. Highland Lass, I saw your roof issues on the one map. Do you know the one where it had like the roof over the road? I can explain what's going on there. At least that portion of it. But the weird wiry roofing, I don't know if that's from that or not. So essentially, when you made the road as a room, it generated a roof on it when you went up another level automatically. So that portion you can just delete with the roof delete tool, which should delete that one kind of over portion very easily. And then the other weird stringy roofing, I'm wondering if once you delete that, it might kind of bring it all back into like a tighter mesh. Remember also, every room typically generates its own roof type. So if you have a house with like a dozen rooms, and this is just general for everyone, not just particularly you, Highland Lass, but if you have, say, a space full of rooms and you want the rooftop to be a universal, uniform roof, make sure you change every room to the same roof type. Sir Turd, that's a little awkward, I'm not gonna lie. I'll give you a chance to behave yourself going forward. But if you only have weird commentary like that going forward, then we likely will have to ban you from. So much easier to do. You know what? Would it be easier to just move them all than it would be to place them again? Get a line across this, like a rule. Downloads one of Sac's rulers. Ruler. Oh, I thought there was. Measure. That. What I'm looking for. I don't necessarily need the numbers, I just need something straight. The dam challenge is fun with objects. So if you're interested in participating, you just make a map of any shape or size using fun with objects as inspiration. What that means is just use the update as your source of inspiration. I think that's about center. Where I'd want the rocks to be is just touching that. Where is center? About. We just kind of use this as a gauge. Or an edge, if you will. And I could make this larger if I wanted to and run it across the whole thing, but it's going to get like exponentially larger. It'll just kind of size up a bit. Kind of a pain, but you can always just put it right at the edge here. Touching it means it's like you can pretty much get this whole thing in a single. So what you would do, Swamp, is you would remove the floor from the room you just added using the floor removal tool, and then you can vault that room up. You can't vault it to a very particular height, like say you want it to be 12 feet. They're vaulted at the wall heights and in those increments. So if you wanted a big vaulted cathedral, you raise it up 3 levels and delete the floor from each level, and it makes it one big room. So you draw floor 1, add floor 1, right? Then add floor 2 on top by raising it up. And then you go into the floor removal tool right here and just bloop, wipe out all the floors in that section. No, you cannot do a portion of the wall. Like I said at the very beginning, you can't pick exactly how high. It's set to wall intervals. So each room has a wall height, right? Which is roughly 2 1/3 cubes. I think it's like 12 feet tall, roughly, in D&D measurements, like the squares. So it's like 2.5 roughly. I think it's like 2.5 cubes roughly, or squares. And so when you stack a new room up, it goes up exactly that height, but you can delete the floor and vault it up to that new wall height. Roger, roger. No, wait, that doesn't compute. You're under arrest. I'm taking... we are chancellors. Or no, we are ambassadors to the Supreme Chancellor. I'm taking these people to Coruscant. Anyway. As I just said, no. You cannot add them in smaller increments than just another level, at least at this time. Please remember this is the first iteration of multi-level and roofing in Dungeon Alchemist. We essentially had to gut DA and change it from the ground up to support this. In addition to that, we are still very much in early access. So changes, upgrades, adjustments will likely happen. Who knows? With time, you might be able to set the exact floor height. However, I can't guarantee that because I just haven't seen anything of it or seen the devs talk about it in the back end. Problem is the wall isn't necessarily perfect because I eyeballed it. So you can't get perfection from, you know, an imperfect line to begin with. I'm just trying to keep it as close as I can. So roughly this runs the line and it's kind of parallel to it all the way down. See, when I adjust it on this side goes that way. There's really no perfect option for this. So it's going to be a little bit off no matter what I do. Well, if I have to delete a couple of graves and extend that out, I can. It's not the end of the world. By the way, we only have about 10, 20 minutes left in the stream. So if any of you all have questions, concerns, feedback, suggestions, now is the time to drop them in chat. That way we get them answered before we wrap up today. Not enough room for some magic to happen here. Drink those. No matter how far I move these over there, there's not. That's a bummer. What was the question we have here? The concern? You can raise and lower a room before you generate it, Swamp. I'll show you that really quick. So let's say you're going to generate a building, right? Any structure, you can shape the floor plan with convex or concave bends or straight edges, so diagonal cuts, right? By grabbing the dot and adjusting it. Additionally, you can rotate the floor plan, right? And you can raise and lower the floor plan before you generate it. All of these three things are highly recommended if you plan to kind of have a custom layout. So if you want a village where there's a home or a mansion raised up on a hill, you can raise up the initial generation so it creates that hill underneath it. Well, I didn't know that. Yeah, they'll be in a playlist for sure. Also, there's probably some more advanced tutorials in the works that Carl would like us to do that'll be like Dungeon Alchemist Academy. Essentially, it'll be like a series of tutorial videos accessible right within Dungeon Alchemist. Kind of similar to how the Steam Workshop's laid out with tiles, but it'd be tiles with videos, linking to YouTube videos or something of that kind of style. As I said earlier, John, you can't adjust the height of the second floor. They're all based on the first floor. So they all stack on top of that one, and all the floors are the same height. You can remove the floors from them, though, to make a vaulted room, but it would be 2 rooms stacked on top of each other. You can't go 1.5 rooms. It'll be 2 rooms, or 20 feet, let's say, instead of 10. So there's no in between. It's the wall height, the wall height. The only way to get a separate height building would be to do a building you raised up or lowered adjacent to it. I think I'd crash this map, I'm not gonna lie. Y'all always want to do these things Dungeon Alchemist doesn't do, and then are like, wait, how do I do this crazy thing that it's not meant to do? Swamp, by the way, you can also, build floating buildings in the new update as long as you're not in a legacy map. I saved right before I did this. I'm just going to wait. I'm patient. Usually just waiting and clicking wait if this ever pops up, because Windows will think it's crashed long before Dungeon Alchemist actually can crash. Just give it time. It needs to think. Map's 85 by 82. I've done so much custom like finagling and work with it that I'm bound to take some time to generate a new structure in it. So the tutorials in like the Dungeon Alchemist Academy with the like basic, intermediate, and advanced teaching like concepts, diving really in depth into them. Kind of like what we offer in the streams. So here we have, a structure. It raised the ground underneath. If you're unhappy with how the ground looks, remember you can always grab the terrain shaping tools and smoothen it out, make it like, more like a natural transitional space. So it's like a natural slant, right? Put a little roadway up to it if you want to. In this build, I can't do a floating piece, so give me 1 second, I'll save. Let me generate a new map and actually let me save one more time. Just saved. Y'all, when you're playing a game, do you ever do that? You like save multiple times just to make sure you did it? So if you want, most houses, statistically, structures have a foundation raised up and flattened. So, or they tampen down the existing earth and flatten it, and then they'll put stonework as a foundation. That's pretty normal building 101 for like the last 2,000 years. At least structures that are still standing today usually had typically a good flat foundation under them that was solid, right? So I do like the idea of it raising the ground underneath, flattening it, and kind of making it look like there was some adjustment made to the terrain to compensate for this building being there, or over the years it's slowly eroded away due to mismanagement, things like that. It's kind of nice. Anyway, so if you want to generate a floating structure, we found you can just go into the AI settings, for instance, and generate any old building. Just find a spot on the side somewhere and generate a small blob, right? Like that. Then go up a level. Generate on top of that. Go up a level. Generate on top of that. Thought I clicked it. Go up a level. Now we're up 40 feet in the air, right? That's pretty high. That's a good, example. I'm going to go up one more level and I'm going to delete this roof with the erase roof tool. And then I'm just going to grab one of these trees and put it over that spot. So now it basically doesn't exist from a top-down perspective. Heck, I could actually sink the tree down into it and really bury it if I wanted to. So it's like on top of it, You could put a rock there, a tree, whatever you want. In fact, I'll grab this rock over here and put it in. Oops. Now that's covered. We don't even see it. But what this does is it's raised the build height to 5 floors high. So now I could come over here and generate a structure in the air. Make sure you enable all these, check boxes again. Give yourself a floor. If you don't want any objects, generate it without objects, whatever. Now we have a floating structure. Here you have essentially what is the basis for a Baba Yaga hut, or a wandering castle, a floating tower, a giant castle in the sky. You can use any of the room types for this. You can add on to the sides and, have hallways and balconies. You can go up levels and keep stacking on top of it. Yeah, Puma, we have a very in-depth guide on our wiki that guides you through importing assets through Blender. Also, we highly recommend hopping on our Discord because we have a very active community of asset sharers and creators who upload assets and have kind of all the minutia of it worked out. In fact, one of the creators in our community made a custom plugin or a module just for Blender, so it like orientates the object and sets it up ideally for Dungeon Alchemist. But isn't it kind of neat to do these little weird, like, awkward shapes? Oops, what happened there? Like this whole little, like, just weird floating tower in the sky. From the bottom, if you look down at it from the ground level. Like, what the heck am I even looking at? It's pretty cool. You could put some rocks under it or something, and it would really kind of give the aesthetic of a floating island. Okay, so now let's say I wanted to turn one of these rooms into like a vaulted room that was taller, right? Let's stack a room on top of this room, right? Try and make it roughly the same shape. And then I'm going to use the delete floor tool. Now this room is vaulted. Actually, let's do it just to this plate. It's like this little balcony up here, and we could even add a balcony up there if we wanted. Little like just a handrail. So we could go into walls and find us a wooden rail type wall. Oh wait, it'd be under the half walls or roof borders, fences, but it would be under one of these. Like that one looks good, right? And that's changing everything. We're gonna just place new walls right there. So there's like an inner balcony looking over the vaulted room, which this could be like anything. It could be an interview space, it could be whatever. But that goes down, 2 floors, so it's a 20-foot tall space. Currently not, Lex. Anything work like that, if you want transparent layering for your foreground layers, that's extra work you're going to have to do in post. What I would recommend doing is finish your whole map, get it all done and ready for export, right? Save it, export it normally, like you normally would, and then go File, Save As, right? In fact, let me show you on a different map so it makes more sense. They were trying to get transparent exports ready for this, like, update, and I pushed for that pretty diligently on the back end, but it just couldn't get done in time with a method they were happy with. So, anyway, what you would do is once you have the map all done and you've exported it, right? Here, let me lower the quality on this because I'm getting some. Only on medium, huh? Probably because I'm running at like 2K res. I may need to go back down to 1920 by 1080 for a while. Anyway, so here we have this map, right? I've exported it. Let's say, assume I've exported it with all layers and the roof, right? So I had this right now. That's my like master. Realistically, you only need the foreground layering on the roof layer. So you could just focus on that layer for the next portion. And what you would do is you would essentially go into your map and go to Save As to splinter it off into a new version of itself. And in this map is what you would cater to the export for foreground layering. So File, Save As. Once you've branched it off and have a separate map, there's 2 ways to address this. And depending on how you built your map can make all the difference. So with my build, I built an exterior kind of walkway, like road, right? And I did that by generating a room with, just using like the alley room type. So it has this nice cobblestone. And then I put like a half hedge as a wall. So it has a wall on the outer side that's a hedge, but it's technically a room for all intents and purposes. Dungeon Alchemist considers it's a room. So it's a little problematic to use this map for green screen stuff, but for the purposes, I'll demonstrate it and you'll get the idea. Okay, so we have a biome that is the green screen biome. If you go to here in your map, right, go to edit terrain, you can change the terrain type from forest to green screen. We added the green screen biome to allow our community to create tiles of any, still or animated objects. It also allows you to export tiles of, say, your buildings to stamp them in other maps really quickly. And lastly, you can edit out the environment and superimpose other things like in a streaming tool like OBS or something like that. When I change to green screen, it's going to get very bright and I'm going to kind of flare out and look awkward. I'm just warning y'all in advance. Yep, going to be radioactive, man. Notice it deleted a lot of the trees, but it didn't delete all of them. Essentially, what you would want to do is go through and remove all the objects on this layer, right? And then you would export it, like anything outside of, say, these roads, so the trees particularly. You would export it with just this. Now, in your case, it would be trimmed all the way back to the building, most likely, because you probably don't have a room outside of your rooms. But if you did, this method may not work for you. The reason I like to use this biome, though, is because there's no shadows from any of the objects or buildings, so it makes it much easier to edit in your editing tool of choice. I'm going to undo this, though, and show you the other method. Maybe. Will it undo? Give it a moment. Okay. It undid. So now it brought it all back. That's the reason you want to save as, so you don't destroy all your hard work, right? Alternatively, there is an object in the object menu in the abstract section. You want to disable collisions and grab this large customizable plane. And then just kind of get it up to like roof height. Just below the roof's edge there. And spread it across your map. Okay? You would want it covering the entire edge, beyond the edge. You could leave all these trees there too if you wanted to, and it would act like canopy if you do this. So you just go to the export menu and export the roof layer. So make sure you're on the highest point, and then just set it to only export current layer. So here you have a canopy layer, essentially, and your roofing to act as a foreground. You would take this into, which, notice all the shadows, that's going to be a pain in your butt. So probably want to mess around with the lighting a little bit, maybe even set it to high noon, so things like shadows are not as big of a problem anymore, right? Or kind of twist them so they're not as vibrant and evident. Anyway, when you have it in high noon, shadows are as small as possible, but things like metal are really shiny, so it's kind of a trade-off, especially if they're in an exterior. Things like water too can be, but now you have pretty much a shadowless export, and you go into green screen and just clear out all this and save it as a PDF that's the exact same size as the other JPEG you exported earlier from your main map. So this process adds a couple of steps, but I mean, you can bring it into a photo editor or a video editor and remove the green in like 3 clicks. Most photo editors and video editors have color removal in like 2 or 3 clicks, or chroma key removal is what they call it. So essentially that gives you your roof foreground layer, all of the trees, which your players may want to walk under, right? And then, yeah, you're good to go. The problem with this, doing it with the trees, is it doesn't automatically split the bottom half for the other layers of the trees, which you'd probably want them represented as stumps if you did that. Personally, I just ignore the trees. My players know they're under the trees. They'll suspend their disbelief. They're in a world of imagination. On occasion, they don't need absolute full immersion. You know what I mean? So there's 2 methods to kind of give you that foreground layer for now, if it's something you absolutely need at this time with a transparent kind of backing around the roof. So those 2 methods, either way, you're going to have to run it through a photo or video editor on the back end. Just make sure you don't crop the overall image. Got to be the same size. So when you set it as the foreground layer later, it's the exact fit over the existing map. Is there a tree with a green slime blob on it? No, there's trees and there are green slime blobs. So you could grab something that looks like, you know, moss or slime and put it on the tree. So you have some options there. You might have seen this right here, which is just a rock. Yeah, it might have just been your eyes playing tricks on you, because I don't think there's a tree that does that, actually. Yeah, Lex, sorry if it was kind of long-winded, but I like to guide you through all the options available to you. I hope in Fun with Objects Part 2, the second half of this release, we figure out transparent, you know, exports, or even offer a transparent biome. Personally, it would be great if at the end of your build, you switch it over to transparent and export, or if just on the roofing layer, everything below that was like invisible, you know, and transparent. We'll probably have to play around with it, because at the end of the day, I think people want transparent options for two reasons. One is the foreground layering on, you know, your virtual tabletops, which allows you to have a layer that your players can kind of pass under. So imagine this hand is the roof and this hand is the background map. When your players walk under that roof, it peels back and then you see the ground underneath, and it's kind of a neat immersion thing. I do agree with why you want that. I just think it's just a matter of time, and it's early access wonkiness that you don't have it. You know what I mean? So in addition to that, I think a lot of people want the transparent background so they can make tiles, animated assets that if your players, you know, walk by them, they do something, or if they touch them, they could trigger it, like opening a chest or a door or a gate, or maybe those cool drills or pipes. You know, it'd be neat to have those as a tile that you can have on the map that's there and animated without having a full animated map. Or maybe you can move the tile around if it's something that's like drivable, like a cart, you know? Anyway. Hope that is an adequate, apt explanation. By the way, we need to wrap it up. Hey, Will, I'm sorry I didn't notice you said yo earlier. Appreciate you dropping in. Hope you're well. Swamp, I did 2 Ghibli references in one sentence. Really? What were they? I don't even remember. That's just how intertwined Ghibli is into my life. Ah, true. That's the double. The double Gib Tundra. I like that attitude, Mosey. Honestly, a lot of people have been really irritated that their legacy maps don't support multi-level, which I get. It's frustrating, you know? It was bound to happen, though, with early access. Eventually, once or twice, we'd run into issues like that where it's not fully backwards compatible, right? So I think, you know, the attitude that you have going into it that, hey, I'm excited to redo these, remaster them with all these new cool things. That's always a good way to look at it. Honestly, I love kind of coming back to my old maps and readdressing them or remastering them. I've done it in the past. So I have this map here, which is my Prospector's Mine. It's a really old cave map I made ages ago. And then I have this one here, Dwarven Prospector's Mine Remastered, that I did when we made the Treasury, which had like caves and tracks and stuff like that. And it's so much better now, right? I think I kind of want to rebuild my Lighthouse Tavern here, and I want to rebuild Bob's Burgers, or Robert's Tavern and Red Meat Tavern and Inn is what I called it. So if you're a fan of Bob's Burgers, this map is actually like a tribute to the Bob's Burgers show. Tons of Easter eggs and stuff in there, but I built this ages ago, ages ago, before like there was you know, the ability to disable collisions and things like multi-level now. So I think it'd be fun to rebuild these. I also want to rebuild the Hocus Pocus map, but I want to do it with Sack because we worked on it together. But Sack doesn't like remastering his builds. He only likes to do them once, one and done. He moves on from them, and I like that. It's an interesting artistic style. But me, I like to rebuild them to see how Dungeon Alchemist has changed. You know what I mean? If you're a fan of Hocus Pocus, this map here, Lex, I'm not sure what you mean. You can't convert an old legacy map into the new. They're still DAM files, but legacy maps you can't add multi-level using the new multi-level tools in the room draw tool. You can't jump up and down levels in the old legacy maps, if that's what you're getting at. There's no way to upgrade them or change them. They are just legacy from here on out. But when you do a save as, it'll allow you to keep your master files and split it off as a copy. So you have a new version of the map, name it as something else. Like this is the one you're doing for, so it would be name of map, foreground. So it's like you're using this version of it to do the foreground stuff. That way you don't break your master map that has all your work, your hard work, and all the details and minutia and the lighting and everything. I made these tokens custom for this build. And then we found out like after that Hero Forge tokens don't show up in people's maps, but they're perfect for like the imagery, but it's also sad that they're not like in the map for everyone to enjoy. Swamp, I honestly wouldn't recommend it. First off, if you all do something like that, converting legacy maps to new, if you find some way to do it, more power to you, but we cannot provide any support for it. So just letting you know, if you're doing something like that, you may risk destroying your maps. Though if you do find a novel solution for it, if you throw up a Git repository, I'm sure the devs would be very interested in looking at it and might even reward you with a bounty for figuring it out. I know in the past they've worked with people who have put Git repositories of like figuring out weird workarounds for things within DA. So who knows? Bounty, hell, I want a job. I mean, you start somewhere. A lot of people end up getting jobs with like dev companies after they were like modders and did stuff on the side. You know what I mean? Like there's a whole like entire group of like developers that got their start in like modding. And there's a whole bunch of community managers or marketing managers who got their start in streaming and content creation. It's like it's a straight pipeline. The content creator to community manager pipeline. Oh my goodness. Y'all, I mean, if you do that, more power to you, but just, yeah, you're stepping into territory that, you know, we just cannot provide guidance to, at least, you know, in a professional sense. You know what I mean? The devs may be able to chat with you privately about it and provide guidance and stuff, but I don't know if they would be, you know, offering support. You get it. Yeah, as long as you have backups and backups, you know, remember 1 is none, 2 is 1, 3 is 2. Have backups of your backups, have your master map, have a map on the workshop, have it on an external drive, and then make a save as copy and then mess with that one. You know what I mean? Anyway, everyone, it's time to wrap it up. We're about 20 minutes past the hour. Thank you everyone for being here today, for tuning in, hanging out while we discussed your favorite map making program, Dungeon Alchemist, and of course worked on the cemetery map, which was quite fun. The cemetery didn't get a whole ton of work done, but I'm getting the shapings of this next area. Once I get like the walkways laid out, it'll be so much easier to just put some graves in there and call it a day. I know that sounds kind of morbid when you say it like that, but we do have most of this set up. I'm going to kind of line this up next stream and maybe shrink these little pavers or something, or maybe just bring it over a little bit so I don't have to do this. We'll figure it out. No matter what we do, at the end of the day, it'll be a lot more aligned and clean. And then we're going to start parceling off these little areas to figure out where graves will go. And before too long, we'll have this whole area filled out. I'm going to put a little park over here. It would be kind of like a gazebo, maybe a fountain, some benches, flowers, hedges, stuff like that. We kind of have a few areas mapped out what we're going to do. I'm going to come back over here, and then I'm going to slowly transition from these graves into the nicer new graves and headstones. So it was like a transitional period of time when they went from more basic graves to more advanced ones. We could finish filling out the sardine can. Because look at all these graves. There's so many of them crammed in here. Hey, thank you for everyone that participated in today's stream, whether you were actively chatting, actively lurking, whether it was your first stream or your 50th. Thank you for being here. And mods, thank you for your support today, answering questions, making sure I didn't miss any questions, providing links and real-time information to the viewers, and keeping chat under control. Thank you so much for being a part of it. Thank you everyone for being here. It is the end of the stream, end of Mapmaker Monday as we know it. I'm just kidding. We'll be back next Monday, of course, with more map making. Between now and then, though, we have 2 streams. This Wednesday is Office Hours, which is exclusive to our Discord. Highly recommend you tune in. Office Hours is a laid-back stream where we provide AMA support, we discuss the future of Dungeon Alchemist, hang out as like-minded GMs, and discuss stat blocks and counter ideas, map ideas. It's a great place to bounce ideas off of other GMs, you know? I like to think of the Office Hour stream as like if we had a headquarters, like an office, that you could come and get a tour, meet the staff, hang out. Occasionally we'll invite another dev on or one of the artists, they'll hang out, answer questions. It's a very cool space to be. Anyway, I encourage you all to add that to your calendars. There's an event in our Discord that marks it, so you can click interested and it'll give you a reminder. But it is every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific, that's 1 p.m. Eastern, and 5 p.m. UTC, so you can extrapolate based on those time zones what it might be for your own. That is this Wednesday and every Wednesday for the foreseeable future. And then we also have the Dam stream or the Dam challenge on Saturdays, alternating Saturdays. This upcoming Saturday is the Dam stream, which is a highlight of community maps and assets shared on Steam Workshop, while we also provide real-time AMA, which means Ask Me Anything support. So you can come in and be like, hey, Mac, I'm struggling to make XYZ, or my map isn't doing what I want, or I found this map on the workshop and I'm wondering how they did it, or hey, I found this bug and I wanted to let you know about it. Tune in and we'll try and do our best to provide you real-time guidance, like you're in a class, or, you know, I'm a professor or teacher guiding you through the issue. And then, again, we'll be back next Monday with Mapmaker Monday. So pretty much the 3 stream a week thing is like clockwork, same damn time, same damn channels every week, unless of course I'm on like a vacation or there's like a family emergency or something. But for the most part, you can pretty much find us every week with 3 streams per week. What time does the stream run on Saturday? That's 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. UTC on Saturdays. Monday streams are 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern, and 4 p.m. UTC. So we do 3 days and 3 different time slots to offer some, you know, spread across various, you know, time zones to give people more opportunities to view. And I'm hoping to expand that to maybe 4 streams per week, or, you know, an extra stream per month so we can get at least 1 more in. Anyway, thank you everyone for being here. I'm going to run a quick Dungeon Alchemist themed ad, and then we're going to wrap up the stream, okay? Appreciate you all being here.
But can it handle curves?
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 Dungeon Alchemist, the AI-powered map-making application for role-playing games, now comes with both round and diagonal walls. Create amazing professional maps for your players in seconds. Get it now on the Steam store.
All right, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Been an amazing stream. Appreciate you so very, very much. Again, this is Mac, your community manager for Dungeon Alchemist. Dungeon Alchemist is available on Steam. We offer a free demo so you can try before you buy and test drive it on your system to see how it runs before you invest any serious time or money into it. Lastly, Dungeon Alchemist is on sale for 20% off through July 24th. So a limited sale, a chance to get a discount on Dungeon Alchemist. So if you've been sitting on the fence waiting to buy it, now might be that time to, look into investing into it because you get that great deal. Lastly, or in addition to that, if you have a friend, family member, DM you love who may be interested in Dungeon Alchemist, let them know, or maybe even just gift them a copy. The more people who know about Dungeon Alchemist, the better, I say. Anyway, thank you everyone for being here. We'll see you next time I give a damn. Back out. Bye.